she scoffed. "Oh, please. You could never fool me anyway." After I refused to pay for her designer bag, I smiled and said, "You're right." When she saw me at dinner with the CEO, who just hired me as his financial advisor, her face turned pale. So, I'm 29 and I'm a financial analyst. My life revolves around spreadsheets, market trends, and finding the quiet satisfaction in a well-managed portfolio. I'm not a flashy guy. My car gets me from A to B, and my clothes are functional. My girlfriend of 2 years was a complete opposite. She treated life like her personal Instagram feed, and money was her favorite filter. I used to think we balanced each other out. Turns out, we were just on opposite ends of a sinking ship. The whole thing blew up the week before her birthday. We were walking downtown in one of those super high-end shopping districts where the stores don't bother listing prices. She physically dragged me to a window that had a single, obnoxious-looking designer handbag on display. You know the type. It probably costs more than my car's Qley Blue book value. "It's perfect, isn't it?" she said, basically fogging up the glass. I looked at the bag. It was the bag. "It's nice," I said, which was my first mistake. "Nice?" "It's not nice," she snapped back. "It's an investment." I almost choked. I make my living on actual investments. And a thing that loses half its value the second you walk out of the store, ain't it? An investment in what exactly? I asked. She turned to face me, striking a pose like she was in a board meeting. "In my brand. Our brand. This is what I want for my birthday." I took a slow breath. We had a plan. A very detailed, spreadsheet-supported plan to save for a down payment on a house. This bag would have torched about 3 months of our savings. "We can't," I told her, trying to be gentle. "The house fund, remember?" Her face just shut down. "The house is so boring. It's just walls and a lawn we'd have to mow. This is a statement. All my friends have bags from this designer. It's embarrassing for me to show up with my old one. If your friends care about what bag you're carrying, you should probably get new friends, not a new bag," I said. It came out harsher than I meant it to. That was it. That was the button. Her eyes went from disappointed to furious in a split second. "You just don't get it because you're cheap. You have all this money, and you just let it sit there. You're holding me back. It's called planning for our future." I said, my patience officially gone. She let out this short, sharp laugh that was completely devoid of humor. "My future? Maybe. But with you?" She waved a hand at me like she was shooing away a fly. "Oh, please. You could never fool me anyway." And that was it. The air went still. She expected me to argue, to grovel, maybe to pull out my credit card in defeat. But all I felt was this incredible, sudden clarity. She was right, but not about the money. I just smiled a little. "You're right." Then I turned around and walked away. I could hear her calling my name. The confusion turned to anger, but I just kept walking. Our relationship ended right there on that ridiculously expensive sidewalk. I went to our apartment, packed the stuff that mattered, left my key on the kitchen counter, and walked out for good. The text started a little while later, a whole storm of angry messages, then sad ones, then angry ones again. I just blocked her number and went to sleep. The next few weeks were all about work. I was in the final stages of landing a massive new client, a huge name in the tech world, who was notoriously private. The guy's finances were a maze, and I was working 18-hour days to map them out. It was honestly the best distraction I could have asked for. I heard through a mutual friend that my ex was all over social media, posting inspirational quotes about knowing your worth and not settling, usually with a picture of herself at some fancy bar. Good for her, I guess. Then I got the call. I landed the client. The contract was huge, enough to fast-track the house down payment, and then some. To celebrate and talk strategy, the CEO himself invited me to dinner. "My wife is dying to meet the guy who made sense of my financial chaos," he said. "I booked us a table at Lucille for tonight." Lucille, of course, the most exclusive, impossible-to-get-into restaurant in the city. The one my ex had an entire photo album for on her phone, labeled Dream Dates. The irony was so thick I could taste it. I arrived in my best suit, feeling like I was on top of the world. The CEO and his wife were fantastic, smart, engaging, and genuinely nice people. His wife, in particular, was sharp as a tack, with this way of looking at you that felt like she was analyzing your soul's balance sheet. We were having a great conversation about market volatility when I glanced up and saw her, my ex. She was sitting across the dining room, on a date with some guy who was old enough to be her father. She was laughing way too loud and looked like she was trying desperately to be seen. And then she saw me. The smirk that spread across her face was pure, smug victory. I could literally see the thought bubble. Ha! Look at me, I upgraded. And you're here all by yourself. Her eyes slid from me over to the people I was with. First the CEO, then his wife. And her face just broke. The smirk vanished. All the color drained from her face. Her jaw went slack. Her date noticed her staring and followed her gaze. He instantly recognized the CEO and even gave a little nod of respect. My ex, though, looked like she'd seen a ghost. She was staring at the life she thought she deserved, and I was living without her. Dinner continued, but I could feel her watching me the whole time. I never gave her the satisfaction of looking back. Eventually, I excused myself to the restroom, mostly just to get some space. Bad move. She ambushed me in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, trying to sound angry but mostly just sounding shaky. "Dinner," I said calmly. "What are you doing with him?" "He's my client," I told her. The words were simple, but they landed like a bomb. She physically recoiled. "Your client?" The CEO. Her mind was visibly spinning, calculating. The reality of the situation was crashing down on her. The guy she called cheap was advising one of the richest men in the country. "I made a mistake," she started, and here come the waterworks. "I was just mad. I didn't mean any of it. We can fix this." "I don't think we can," I said, trying to move past her. She grabbed my arm. "Please," she begged. "I love you." That's when a new voice, cool and calm, sliced through the air. "I think he's made it clear he's not interested." It was the CEO's wife. She walked up and stood beside me, her eyes moving from my ex's teary face to mine. Then she looked back at my ex, and her expression shifted. It was a flicker of recognition. "Wait a minute," she said slowly. "I know you. You worked for my husband for a bit last year. You were his personal assistant, weren't you?" My ex froze solid. The wife continued, her voice dropping a little. "The one who was fired for, what was it, creating a hostile work environment?" I felt the floor drop out from under me. Behind his wife, the CEO had appeared, and the look on his face was one of pure panic. It all clicked into place in one horrible, spectacular moment. My ex hadn't just been on a date with a rich guy. She'd had an affair with my new boss. Turns out, she had used a different last name when she worked for him, a little trick to keep her options open, I guess. The CEO hired me for my skills, never in a million years connecting his new financial guru to the ex-boyfriend of his messy old fling. The CEO's wife turned to her husband. The look she gave him was absolutely bone-chilling. "You hired your ex-mistress's boyfriend to manage our personal finances," she said, not as a question, but as a final judgment. "After I specifically demanded you surround yourself with people of integrity." The CEO looked like he was about to have a heart attack. My ex's date had already seen the writing on the wall, thrown some money on their table, and was making a beeline for the exit. The wife took charge. She gave her husband a look that said, "Your life is over. Before turning to my ex, get out," she said. "If I ever see your face again, you'll find out what a hostile environment really looks like." My ex, sobbing for real this time, practically ran out of the restaurant. Then this incredibly powerful woman turned to me. "I apologize for this embarrassing drama," she said, her composure flawless. "My husband's poor judgment is clearly an ongoing issue. However, your contract is with the company, and I'm on the board. Your work is impeccable, and your discretion tonight is noted." She gave me a thin, calculated smile. "Your position is safe. In fact, I'm going to have a new contract drawn up for you tomorrow, with a substantial bonus for special considerations. We need to ensure your silence and loyalty." Just like that, She had turned a marital disaster into a business transaction. I was speechless. All I could do was nod. I went back to the table, grabbed my stuff, and left. The next morning, a new contract with an insane bonus was in my email. I signed it. I heard through the office rumor mill that the CEO is now on a very short leash, both at home and at work. His wife is basically running the show. And my ex? She's completely radioactive in the circles she so desperately wanted to be in. She was right about one thing. I couldn't afford her. Not the bags or the lifestyle, but the drama, the lies, the sheer cost of my own peace of mind. Turns out my quiet, boring life was a more valuable asset all along.